Hey there, cats. Today we're going to talk about flappers and use flappers as a way to get us into cultural appropriation.
Because we're always fun here. So we're drinking some Downton Abbey tea.
You know. Everybody knows what a flapper is, right? It's a cute girl, little bob haircut.
You've got the,
swingy, kicky dress.
Yeah. From a Halloween costume perspective,
Yeah.
from a Great Gatsby movie perspective.
And probably, if you're picturing in your head what we just described, you're picturing a white girl.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
White girls did not invent flappers.
No, they didn't.
No. Definitely comes out of the jazz movement, which is deeply rooted in African American culture in the United States.
The dancing, the music, the fashion, it all comes from this sort of like African American working class culture of the time.
There are a lot of things it's growing out of. It's growing out of this sexually repressed Victorian movement that's obviously going to hit women of color the hardest, as those movements tend to uphold like the ideal of white sexual purity, femininity.
But as the white women who are for the first time getting liberated by the right to vote and you know, the spread of electricity and all the other things that were happening in this moment, the first thing they're going to do with their sort of newfound independence is things that their parents wouldn't want them to.
Which is usually hanging out with black people, I
Hanging
guess.
out with black people is a big part of it.
So this culture is already really vibrant. It's already moving. You already have King Oliver and his Creole jazz band. You've got Louis Armstrong playing for him. You have
Josephine Baker,
obviously one of the most famous flappers, creating this movement, creating this ambiance.
One of the first cultural exports of America.
Yeah, really.
That is a homegrown American cultural and artistic style that
became
throughout
really
the world.
Popular in France. I mean, Josephine Baker had to leave America and went to France and was extremely popular there.
Yeah, so now you've got young, wealthy white girls who are trying to find ways to acceptably rebel against their parents, so they're going all night to nightclubs, which are underground because of Prohibition. And they're, you know, wearing short skirts, and they're drinking a lot and listening to black music.
They're trying out black dances, like the Charleston, developed by Florence Mills.
And premiered on Broadway in a black musical, Runnin' Wild. And yeah, so we really wanted to take this opportunity to talk about how knowing how you can appreciate things that come from cultures that aren't your own, but you always want to know where they came from and not behave as if you invented it or it started with you or people like you.
Or because clearly these women had never, we're talking about white privileged women here, who have never been told that something is not for them unless it's for like a
moral reason and
their dad is like, you shouldn't do that. There's an incredible amount of privilege to walk into a predominantly different space, a space that's not your own culture.
There's an interplay too here of, oh, well, if white people hadn't gotten a hold of it and popularized it, it never would have been big or anything. And like, well, that kind of argument is really tough to make because we don't really know what would have happened if black people had been sort of left to their...
Yeah, that's a lame argument. And as a result, like this is something that constantly happens in American culture. It goes through to jitterbug dances, all of this stuff, all the way through rock and roll.
So there's a whole bunch of like mess that comes out of this, right?
And it keeps going all the way to twerking today, and a lot of slang that we have today in youth culture
that white people sometimes don't even know came from African American vernacular English.
Yeah, it's like complete like cultural history aside, it's kind of like if you reblog something on Tumblr and you remove the credit.
Yeah, and you don't actually say that you did it, but you leave it blank to the point where people can
that photo to your hard drive and then you re-uploaded it so you're the first person.
Yes.
It's like,
so people can sort of like make their assumption about it that it's yours.
Or the fact that where something came from isn't important. It's really important.
And especially when we're talking about people for whom culture was the biggest thing they had. These
Yeah.
aren't people who had a lot of money or
Historically.
a lot of power or property or
Yeah.
privilege of any kind. The culture is their defining
Yeah.
possession, and white people took that too.
Yeah. And keep
So-
taking it.
And keep taking it. We are going to
Read, supply with an army, black flappers.
Yeah, as much as we love Zelda Fitzgerald,
Sorry, Zelda.
this isn't
You've
her
had
moment.
your day. This is not your day.
Her moment.
I would like to read Bessie Smith because she had such a troubled time, and I know she just had that Queen Latifah movie like not
Yeah.
that long ago. But I feel like, and she was probably bi, and that's erased.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more from Bessie.
I'm gonna go ahead and give Josephine Baker an army.
Obviously, that's really clear.
mean,
Josephine gets all the armies. She was
she-
literally a spy. She gets an army.
She's so cool. She's so cool. Like, no
Oh my
wonder
God.
privileged white girls wanted to be just like her.
Yeah. That is a woman with very few fucks left to give.
Uh-huh.
We could also elect Ma Rainey.
Ooh.
I would really elect her.
Yeah. She's not exactly the physical archetype of what we would think of as a flapper.
No.
But she was hugely influential
Yeah.
as a jazz singer of the
Yeah.
age. Let's give that woman some serious
If I could,
democratic power.
Just like shave like some poor influences away from, I don't know, like
You know, when we're talking about women of this period, pretty much all of them have got sad baggage
Yeah.
and bad influences.
and are, you know, being used and using people and like just making their way
Especially-
as much as they can.
Yeah.
I don't even.